Hi there, dance studio owner, and welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. In this very special series of podcasts, we are so excited to be bringing you some of our favorite guests. Of course, I'm talking about the members of the Dance Studio Owners Inner Circle. We wanted to share these with you over the next 2 weeks because these studio owners are just like you. They are here to share their success stories, and I know you are going to love them as much as we do.
Want to welcome everyone to a very, very special session that we are running today. We are running in a Dance Studio Owner Power Hour, where today we're speaking with four just amazing dance studio owners, people that have so much passion for what they do, but also a great business brain. And we're going to kind of dive into how they've built their studio, the challenges, the struggles that they've had, and also the great things that they've implemented to help them get closer to their dream studio. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you are here, please jump into the comment section and say hello. We would really love to hear from you in there. But first up, I have someone amazing, and her name is Jody Schilling. She is the CEO, I love saying that, CEO, Releve Dance Studio. She's based in lovely, sunny, maybe today, maybe not, California. It's always pretty sunny in California. Hey, Jody, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Awesome to have you. So, Jody, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your journey? How did you start the dance studio? And also, what does it look like now? Because I think it's important that people realize that where you start isn't necessarily where you end up. So we'd love to hear a bit about that.
Sure, I'll try to do the condensed version.
Yes.
I think I told my middle school guidance counselor that I wanted to have a performing arts studio when I was 12 years old. It just took a while for that to happen. I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't know when. And that ended up being after getting a degree in dance, my career shifted and I became an actress. And after 10 years of acting, I took that money that I earned on a Disney show and I opened my studio in Los Angeles, California, and didn't know anything at all about running a studio. I don't know. I think if I were to do it now, I would be scared because I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And we started from scratch. We had 0 students and it took a long time to build in a very competitive city. And, but I've really loved the journey, and it's only been the last 3 years where it's really, come into fruition what the studio is supposed to be. And now, it's got this really sweet community, like a small town feel in a big city. And we're training triple threats. So they're singing, they're dancing, and they're acting. And they are actually booking work, though that's not our mission. Our mission is to create great little people. But as a side effect, they're learning all these wonderful values, and the casting directors are loving that. So it's just... since we've been sticking to our mission, Releve means to lift up or rise. And we are very good at mentoring these kids, I think. I don't know. I think so.
I think so too. I've known you now for at least 3 years. I think that's very much a strength of yours and your team.
Yeah. So we just go into it thinking we're going to set these kids up for success in life, not necessarily the performing arts. The performing arts is just our tool.
Yeah, I love it. You talked about like over the last 3 years, what are some of the things that have shifted for you over these last couple of years that have really helped you to get closer to the studio you wanted to build, right? Because, we all know as studio owners, I still remember putting my key in my first studio in the recreational center. I was like, this is going to like take over the world and it's going to be massive. And then, reality kind of hits in and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so what has shifted over the last 3 years to help you get closer to, the point that you want to be with the studio?
Yeah. So it took me 7 years to realize I wasn't very good at what I was doing. And it was a pride thing. And I let go of everything that I didn't know how to do. Managing the studio, marketing, some of the like the financial stuff I gave over so that I could concentrate on the things that I was good at, the curriculum, the programming, student relations, parent relations, that kind of stuff. And that's really what really helped it take off at first. And then being introduced to you and learning all the systems and things that we could put in place where I could spend even more time on the things that I was good at. And then bit by bit, I've gotten some knowledge in marketing and finances and the things that are not my favorite, but now I have a general knowledge in it so I can direct the people who are good in it kind of where I want to go.
Yeah. I want to kind of dive a bit deeper into the letting go, because when you say it, it sounds very easy, but we know that this is very tricky. Delegation, because as studio owners, a lot of us think that no one can do it as good as we can do it. Let me do it. It's going to be faster than you doing it. And we know that that's what really creates burnout at the end of the day, is you have X amount of years doing everything yourself, feeling unsupported, not being able to grow because you're too busy in the business 60, 70 hours a week. What was that kind of mindset shift, and how did you kind of work through that? Because, more people means more money as well. You've got to be paying more money out to people. And so there's a couple of tricky things there to navigate to get that process.
Mm-hmm. So my first fear was that someone else wasn't going to understand my vision for my business because they didn't create it. It wasn't their baby. They weren't really vested in it. And I was so wrong. It was so wrong. Finding the right people who are vested and just as interested in your business as you are is key. And you talk a lot about hiring funnels and getting the right people to help you. So that's one. And then two, once you do hire the people that you need to hire and you let go of the pride and understand that, maybe you can't do things as well as an expert in whatever field. Yes, you're going to be spending more money, but you're going to be making more money because the revenues start coming in, because all of a sudden you freed up all of the space to pursue different revenue streams. It made a huge difference. Of course, it's scary. Of course. And there's a little hill you have to go up at. There's a tiny scary point in time where it's like, oh, I'm paying out all this money, but then you go over the hill and then finally the money starts coming in, and it comes quicker than what you think.
Yeah. And what did you have to be careful of? Because I see people that delegate go two ways. They go, oh, great, I've got more time now. And they actually don't fill the time with higher level kind of value tasks to grow the business and move it forward. And then there's people like, great, I've got 10 hours back this week. During 10 hours during the week, being very disciplined, I'm going to work on things that are now going to grow the business so I can bring in more money to then make sure that everyone is covered.
I was the latter, but that wasn't my main problem. My main problem was my communication skills. My brain, I think in visual, not words, and I think non-linear. So my brain jumps around, and it makes complete sense to me what I want to have done. But the poor people working for me have no idea they can't get it out of me.
Hey, crazy lady, I have no idea what's going on here.
And being a visionary, which I think a lot of studio owners are, they're very creative and visionary. They get these big ideas. And so I'll go to my studio manager and say, I want to do X, Y, Z. And I'll be so excited. And she's the person, and I need her. She's the person that will say, Jody, you can't do that right now because, and then she'll lay out the steps that we needed to do way in advance to be able to get that thing done. So we'll put it on the docket for next year. So I have people in my life to filter me, and then I have people like and systems that help me get the things out of my brain so that other people can understand what I want to have done. So Asana has been a really great tool for me, and Evernote has been really, really great for me because I can just leave my ideas there and know that they're safe and they're still there, but that they're not. It's not time for them yet.
Yeah. We work exactly the same way there. I've got my mess of an Evernote where I brain dump like everything that's like circling around in my brain so I can just get it out. I love that. So really, for everyone that's watching, the key takeaway here so far with Jody is, one of the big shifts, and we've been working together for a little while, I saw with Jody, is her focus on working on her zone of genius. What is it that she is great at, that she is strong at, where she is most fulfilled? And what I loved is she just shared with you, outsourcing everything else, but now also having an understanding of how those departments work, because you do have to be careful of not going, okay, you look after my marketing, like you look after my Facebook ads, you look after all of this, and you have no idea how it works, because how do you know if they're doing a good job, right? And I feel like that's where you're at now, is like you've got at least a base level understanding of how everything should kind of operate and run. But you're not the person executing it. You're kind of sitting in the CEO place, monitoring it, working together with the people that are doing it to make sure it's to the best of its ability.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so good, so good. I know you have a beautiful family and your amazing husband, Sean. How do you, because a question we get a lot is, how do I do it? Clean. How do I do it? I'm like, you're not really asking the right person, a single guy in New York with no kids. So I would love for you to kind of share your philosophy around running a studio, also being present, which I think is a huge piece with your family and making time for your family, and maybe and if that has changed over the years as well. I'd love for you to shine some light on how you do it, because I think that's really interesting for everyone.
Okay. I think it's ironic that before I had children, the studio was in the worst possible place it's ever been. And now, in the last 4 years where I've started having children, it's in the best possible place. And it's been the most difficult time to manage my time between family and the studio. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and it's getting a little easier now, but it's pretty hard when you have young children because they depend on you. And I think for me, and it's because of choices I've made, I know through past experience that if it's a choice between the studio and my family, I always choose my family. And I didn't know that before, but I've been put to the test and I've had to make that choice a couple of times. And I don't know. I think it's important for people to know where their priority is. Work is work and family is family. And I think relationships are what is the most important thing in life. It's not that I drop the studio when I want to be with my family. I have people who can manage it now. It's still important. It just doesn't have to be me. I spend a lot of time with my husband and my children because I had a dad that put all his emphasis on work, and I never saw him, and that relationship suffered. And I don't want my kids to go through and become adults and say, my mom always chose her work over us. So I'm there for my kids. There's a competition in 2 weeks and I'm not going. I'm sending someone else because I want to have the weekend off with my children. Pixie, my daughter who's 4, has her first field trip. I don't want to miss those things. I think they're important, and you get one life, and the people are what matter most.
Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. I want to talk about some challenges because guys who are watching this, you never not have challenges. I don't want any studio owner to think you get to this place where it's just cruisy and, nothing gets hard and there are no bumps in the road. As entrepreneurs, as studio owners, there are always going to be bumps in the road. But the key is how do you react to those bumps, and then the action that you take to kind of move yourself forward. So what has been a challenge or some challenges that you've had over the last, let's say, year to 2 years that you've had to move through, and what did you do to kind of get through the challenge?
That is a hilarious question. Well, we all know that dealing with people and customer service, things come up all the time.
Yeah.
But this year I was challenged more than I've ever been challenged in my life with a problem. I was walking my kids to school one day. It's about a 4-block walk, and I fall over. I just completely fall over and couldn't get back up. And when I finally stood up, the world started spinning. And I couldn't keep my balance and get home. And come to find out, it was a brain cyst. Who knew? Non-cancerous, but it was sitting on my ocular nerve where my ear and my eyes connect. And so I spent October through January not being able to walk, it also came with a migraine. Not being able to look at a computer screen, having to keep volume very low, not being able to go into the studio. So as you can imagine, I was pretty useless as far as running my business. And I had to rely really, really heavily on my studio manager and the teachers. And in a crisis situation, communities usually come together to make it through tough times, and that's what happened. But it was really difficult to, like, everything that I thought I was, the visionary, the leader, the person who kind of directed the studio, I couldn't do because I was just thinking about, how am I going to walk again? How am I going to drive again? How do I raise my girls? What's going to happen to me? And, going through physical therapy, like, your priorities change. It's so interesting. I keep saying this, but we don't live to work. We work to live. And so the studio is a business, and I love it dearly. It's my baby, but I've had to, the hard way, give it over to other people to run several times. But that's the biggest challenge I've had in the last year.
Yeah. And so during that time, obviously, the studio kept going and running, and it was tricky. What do you attribute that to? Like, how was it able to keep on kind of going and working? Because you had been doing a lot of work. You didn't know this was going to happen, Nope. But I think it's it was a good, the thing that came out of it, I guess it was a positive. We're always trying to look for the lessons and the positives, is that you still have a business.
Yeah. The thing that helped is we have a studio manual, and every position has everything that they do written out in detail, like every job, every week. We had everything in Asana broken down, and people just had to kind of follow the grid and paint by numbers, basically, to get things done. There was just a few things that they had to get out of me, curriculum wise, to move forward with a couple of projects, but that I dictated over the phone. So I think it's having the right people who are they're self-motivated. You don't have to always tell them what to do. They can just log in and see what's to do that day. And then also a team that keep each other accountable and support each other. I think it's all in the culture.
Yeah. Culture, as our leadership expert, Jane Gretsch, always says. It's always about that. Thanks for sharing that. I think it is a really valuable lesson for everyone. Let's talk about something fun, and that is growth of your studio. You mentioned over the last 3 years, it's really gotten to, it's getting more and more to that place of where you want it to be, and that the vision that you have for the studio, which I've loved watching and being a part of. What is something tactically that you can share with us that you have implemented to help just on the growth side?
Do you want the growth, like bottom line growth, or culture growth?
Let's do bottom line growth because I think, some people want some more money, so we can talk about that.
I think probably when I first started working with you, I was trying to figure out how to bring in money during the day from 8 to 3 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. when very little was going on. The kids were all in school. I was having trouble renting my location because it's in the ghetto. And there was just some hurdles. And and I needed more money. And so I approached some parents in my studio to see what was going on in their schools and if they had any need for dance, acting, or singing or musical theater during school hours. So Releve would come in as an independent contractor and teach the school, usually elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade, these subjects and have a graded curriculum and it'd be part of their core program. And there was interest because the funding had been cut in LA. So talking to a parent is one thing, but then proposing it to the people who have the money is a whole nother thing. So it was coming up with a deal that benefited them and writing a proposal that was the answer to all their prayers, basically. Mm-hmm. And I got my first school. I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
That's okay. We know
kids are on their way to school.
We're so used to dogs and babies and kids, and doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I got my first school that said, yes, we want Releve to come in and teach kindergarten through 5th grade. And it actually took about 3 years to get that curriculum done and into the school and contracted in. We had been doing after school stuff all the time, but once we got into the schools and we got our first one, then we had a system on how to get into the schools. Like we knew what worked. And Ava, sorry, come. I'm just gonna grab her.
So, grab Ava. Let's
everyone see Ava so she can.
Hey, Ava.
Here's Ava. Okay.
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 Oh.
So that first school, I think, was last year, and you knew about it because you kind of helped me through that process.
Yeah.
In the inner circle, and it was crazy. I never really thought that they would do it, but it was a $40,000 contract. And then, so we did the year, and then the teachers and the principal started talking about us and saying how to their friends in other schools, how they need Releve to be in their schools. And now, right now, this month, I am just duplicating the same contract for 5 more schools. And it's projected to bring in about $250,000 in revenue for this offsite teaching. So it all stemmed from getting in the door for the first one, making it all about the school, not about Releve, and then doing a good job, and then asking for referrals. And now it's money coming in when I didn't have classes going.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because that's and I know that's something that we worked on, but you've done such an amazing job with executing that. And obviously the reason it's been successful is, like you said, you've got to do a good job. You worked really hard on the programming and the curriculum, the training of the teachers, the building the relationships like you have talked about already in our time together. So huge, that's huge, and so good for the studio as well as bringing in money. It is also promoting, and the studio is being talked about in the local, in the area. I know that we're running out of time. Let's kind of finish on, what is kind of your words of wisdom for our studio owners that are watching at the moment, and they're thinking to themselves, I'm not near my goals. I want to move closer to my goals. I'm stuck. I'm doing everything. We sometimes feel like we're on that treadmill. What advice would you give them?
I think that for me, that the switch happened when I found what I was good at. And it took a little while. And once I found what I was good at and what I was passionate about, then things started to really roll. So that's my biggest advice. Spend some time analyzing yourself. And I did it, you've given us some tools to do that through the retreats that we go on. And then I also, seek outside help through, I've done like Michael Hyatt's course and different things, finding your spiritual gifts. Like I'll go everywhere to kind of find out who am I and what am I good at? And I think that's also seasonal, because I don't think 4 years ago I would have been good at writing curriculum and coming up with programming and solving issues and leading a team. I think you kind of evolve and things change. Yeah. So taking a deep assessment of what you're good at.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from the session with you this morning. Jody, you're in. I just want to quickly ask, because you're in your third year with the Inner Circle, with our mentoring and mastermind group. Doors are open now for people to apply if they think it's the right fit. Who do you think is the right fit for the group? Because we are very protective of our culture. And so who do you think would be the right person to apply and then, join our family we've got going on in the Inner Circle?
The people who I'm thinking, they're all like such good friends now. We've gotten really close and we love new people. And I think that the people who really fit are hungry to learn and eager to implement. And then are just kind of fun to be around.
Fun. Yeah. We gotta have a lot of fun people. If you take yourself a little too seriously, we're probably not the right group for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love that. Hungry to learn. And what did you say?
Eager to implement.
Eager to implement. Yeah. So it's all about taking the information, but then actually doing something with it. You've got to take action in the Inner Circle. We definitely help you with that. But it's awesome. Thank you, Jody. I know I've gone over in time with you, but I mean, everyone that we're talking to today, I could probably talk to for days.
I'm excited. The lineup is so good, you guys.
Yay! Well, Jody, thank you. Hey, give us your website so we can check it out.
All right. It's www.relevestudios.com.
Awesome. And check them out on social as well. Thank you, Jody, for spending some time with us and sharing. Guys, I'm sure you've got a notepad full of notes from Jody with highlighted, really start focusing on your zone of genius, what you love, what you're really strong at, and delegating the rest in the right way. Thank you, Jody. Such a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Fantastic call with the amazing Jody Schilling from Releve. I'm excited to bring on our next guest. Also, one of our Inner Circle members has been with us over also the last 3 years, which is amazing. I was lucky enough to have dinner with this lovely lady on Friday night. I flew into Toronto for an event just for 2 days, and one of the nights I was there and we got together with a couple of studio owners, and it's always nice to give a big hug to this smiling face. The amazing, it's got some nice lips going on today, Shauna Kwan from Elan Dance in London, Ontario, which is in Canada. Hello, Shauna.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, we can hear you loud and clear. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Nice to see you. This is like such a treat. We're like getting so much of each other over this week.
Yeah, lovely.
Lovely.
More Clint.
It's amazing. So Shauna, why don't we kick it off? Tell us a little bit about your studio. Why did you start? How did you start? And what does it look like today?
So, so I'm in London, Ontario. Mm-hmm. And I actually never thought that I would own a studio. I was one of my only group of friends growing up at the dance studio that didn't pursue, theater or arts or anything. I went to school and got my degree in kinesiology, which has been useful for owning a dance studio. But I took like my first ever hip hop class because I'm kind of old and hip hop didn't exist at studios when I was training. I took my first ever hip hop class when I was at university and was a natural. And then the assistant in my class really sucked. So I became the assistant, and then the teacher pieced out, and then I became the teacher. And then all of a sudden I was running the program, and then someone came in and fired all of us. And I was like, I'm going to open a studio. And that's so weird, but that's how it happened. Yeah.
Amazing. And what does paint us a picture of what the studio looks like today?
So my whole vision when I opened the studio was that I wanted to be able to offer dancers something that wasn't offered in the city. So I had a really strong background at that point in urban disciplines, hip hop and breaking. And so I wanted to be able to offer that. And I wanted to build a really large boys program and an adult program, because I was essentially, for that many years, had been teaching adults at the university and that I was really good at. And I just loved how, for adults in particular, it wasn't necessarily about them coming in and leaving better. It was more about the experience that they had. And I wanted to continue that because I really enjoyed that aspect of teaching, because for kids, they have to leave better, that's why.
Yeah.
For adults, it's more about the social aspect and them having the opportunity to, escape from life and come in and do something fun. So I was able to do that. We have the largest hip hop and break program in the city, and it's legitimate hip hop and breaking, which sounds like everyone says that, but really it's quite difficult to accomplish.
Yeah.
And we have a huge boys program, and we have the largest adult program in the city. So,
yeah. I mean, I love, and what I'm hearing here is, and for everyone that's listening, Shauna identified her expertise, again, this kind of zone of genius, and is really building outstanding programming around her passions, what she's really strong at, and then also how she can mentor a team. So tell us about a boys program, because there are a lot, and we see it all the time, in our communities, that we have a studio owners going, I have no boys. How do I build a boys program? What do I do? I mean, what do you think it is that has made your boys program so successful and one of the largest?
So we average around 70 male students per season. And many of them do a number of different disciplines, and we have a bunch of them. We normally have 10 to 12 on our comp team. So we have all boys routines every now and then, which is really great. There are about 20 plus dance studios in London, and London is really quite small. So they're kind of popping up everywhere each year. And I think I'm the only one in London that actually charges money for boys to dance. Every other studio is free, yet I have 10 times the amount of boys that any other studio has. And I just think that the idea of, I want boys at my studio, so come here and dance for free. But do you really, teaching boys is a different, they're different animals, you have to specialize and understand how to teach male dancers. And that personally. Yes. And when you competitions and you watch these male dancers, it's so clear whether they've been trained by knows how to train them. And so I invested in really strong male teachers who could not only make our boys feel comfortable and that it was okay and cool to dance, that they would look masculine and
like men.
Strong. Dance like girls,
Yeah, I get it.
So I have really strong male instructors who are positive role models for these boys. And I offer them opportunities to mentor other younger boys that come into the studio. So yeah, like charge full price. But because I'm charging full price, I have to offer that additional quality for these families so that they understand why I'm charging full price as opposed to the studio down the street.
Yeah, because they'd easily come to you and say, well, we can go down here and we're not paying or half price or whatever it might be.
Well, and I totally forget his name, that awesome gentleman who was with Noah at our retreat. Sean. Yeah. So he made that statement that still sticks with me. It was like brilliant. He basically said, he says to his customers, let me tell you why going with the cheaper option is the most expensive mistake you'll make. Which is huge. Yeah, go to the studio down the street that is free for your son, but you're not going to learn anything because they don't know what to do with your son, right?
Yeah. That was amazing. And just for everyone listening, so Noah and Sean spoke at our Inner Circle retreat in Vegas in January, and their book is dealing with difficult customers. And so they ran 2 workshops for us. That was a great line. Like I was sitting there as well and I was like, that is like gold. Like everyone can use that. That is gold. With the adult side of things as well, because these are things that always come up, boys and adults, right? It's very different to like filling preschool, which we talk a lot about, filling your rec classes, we talk a lot about, competition classes, the same thing. Boys and adults are different. So I think it'd be interesting to get your take on adult programming, because adults are on their own schedule. They're working full time. They'll come if they want. They won't come if they don't want. I mean, how have you built a sustainable, quite a big adults program that does really well for the business?
Yeah, it's tough because they're, I often refer to them as high maintenance customers, and they hate when I say that because most people find that insulting. But what I mean when I say it, and I don't say it anymore because they hate it.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea that you don't say it to their faces,
Right. They expect so much more because, they're paying for their own lessons. They're making the decision to be there. They're choosing that over a ton of other options that they have in their lives, or, they're tired after work and yada, yada, yada. You have to build a community. Adults are only going to go regularly if there's a community of like-minded people there that they A, want to be around, and B, will miss if they don't go, And so, we have a huge group of adults. Some of them are registered students. Some of them we have like a drop-in card. But they're friends. They're all friends with each other. They all do the recital. Some of them are on like unlimited dance passes for the year. So they pay like a huge amount of money and they come to 7-8 classes a week, but they're community and they all do it together. It's like going to the gym, right? Most of us go to the gym the same time, every day, all week, and we see the same group of people. And so when we don't go and we show up 2 days later, they're like, Shauna, what's up, man? And I'm like, oh, sick, right? And so it's the same kind of feeling that you want to build at your studio. And you have to find the right teachers. Finding teachers for adult students is like, it's a tough beast because teaching adults is a lot different. You have to figure out exactly what they want. Like I have a lot of confidence in my ability to teach pretty much anybody, but 2 years ago, I took over an adult class that one of my other staff had been teaching, and she's amazing. And it became really clear to me after 3 or 4 weeks that they weren't loving my class. Like it was so clear that they had been completely into whatever was going on, and whatever I was doing was just not jiving. And I had to use the last 5 minutes of one class to say, okay, what's going on? I'm sensing. And they were like, well, you're really drilling technique. And I was like, yeah, it's like my job and what you're paying for. And they're like, we just want to have fun. And so I had to incorporate all of the technique into like fun combos and stuff like that, right? So I had to change the structure of my typical class to appeal to what they wanted and maybe what they had been used to, right? So you need a teacher that is open and willing to listen to adults, because kids, like, sounds bad, but we don't really have to listen to them, right? We do what we do and they have to do it, and that's it. But adults are a different student altogether. So
yeah, definitely. This is so good. So boys, adults, if any of you, I feel like if any of you are struggling or want to start one of these departments in your studio, you've got some great ideas from Shauna. Shauna, I'd love to hear over the last couple of years, what has been, and I asked Jody a similar question because I love this question, what has been a challenge or a hurdle that you have come up against that you have been able to move through and find a solution for?
I am still going through a very nasty separation with my ex-husband. Mm-hmm. And, like many people in my position, just personally, one husband or wife, one of those people takes care of finances and takes care of things, and the other one doesn't even understand what they're doing. They're just, they trust that everything's being done properly, and they don't even learn, and they aren't involved. And that was sort of what happened with me with the studio, because my ex-husband took care of marketing and he took care of bookkeeping and finances and everything. And I didn't even bother learning any of it or understanding any of it, because, it was like, well, looks good to me. He's doing it. And so having to get in there and learn it and force myself to, Jody kind of touched on this, force myself to at least have a basic understanding of the things that clearly I don't want to do because I passed them off to someone else who's good at doing them. I had to force myself to get at least a basic understanding of them so that I could find the right person then to take them on, because I, again, was aware that I wasn't the right person to be doing those things, but needed to at least understand what was going on so that I could learn what was and wasn't working, at least. Because when I got my hands on it, it was clear to me that for a number of years, things were being unaddressed and not being done properly. I just wasn't aware of it at the time. So that's probably been the biggest hurdle. And I think the second one is different revenue streams and how to manage all of those things at once. Because quite often we introduce a new revenue stream because we need more money coming in, and things get dropped because we're focusing on the one thing, right? So getting an idea and systems in place about how to manage all of those things has been challenging, but yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. That's a huge, thank you for sharing that as well. But that is something for everyone just to be aware of. I think as the CEO of the studio, whether you are a co-founder, whether you have people looking after other departments inside the studio, you do need that foundational understanding of how everything is working, because you just never know. Life throws things at us, and we've got to be as prepared as possible for them. Shauna, I've seen an amazing amount of growth in you over the last few years that we've been working together in kind of how you approach things, how you think about things. That has changed. Just your overall mindset as really becoming and stepping into that leadership role. I mean, what advice would you give our studio owners who maybe still feel like the fraud, like the dance teacher who is somehow running this business but not sure they're really running it? What advice would you give them to, transition them into the role of being the CEO?
I think that we all have to figure out what our value is. there's something that we are really good at, and Jody mentioned it as well. It's okay to focus on what you're good at and leave the other things. Like at our dinner, we have those two lovely sisters, right? And they are so amazingly good at what they do. Like, I literally was like, that is so cool that you have this unique specialty and you're blowing it up. That's so amazing. And then they're like, yeah, but we want to do something new. And I was like, oh my God, like, don't.
Yeah. That's great advice that you gave. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, why would you do that? But we dream of all these things. And that's why I think that, like, you shove these 90-day goals in our
every day, 90-day goals every hour. Yeah.
And it's good that you shove them in our faces, because we still get caught up with all the ideas and then whatever. And, we sometimes have to just look at those goals and just say, okay, not now, right? Great idea. Not now. Chill, focus, right? And so I just think that in order to really be able to be a successful owner of your business, you have to sit back and think, okay, what am I really good at? And how can I arrange everything else so that I can focus on that? Because as soon as I have the ability to focus on what I am truly good at, then I'll be able to make my business the most successful business around. If I'm focusing on 10 things that I'm kind of okay at, then there's no way I'm going to reach my potential for success.
So good. So good. I love this theme that's kind of coming through from you and Jody, which is so valuable, because as entrepreneurs, and the reason why we talk a lot about the 90-day plan in Inner Circle is because it's very easy for us to get distracted and chase the shiny object, which gets us away from our vision and where we really want to go. But we can sometimes get a little restless or a little bored or a little not feeling challenged. And it's finding the innovation in what we are doing to get us closer to those goals, which is, around discipline and those types of things. So I'm glad you shared that. As similar with Jody, you've been a part of our Inner Circle family now. You're in your third year. Who do you think is a perfect fit for our group?
I think I was thinking about this when Jody was talking about it. I think that for me, the perfect members that join, like all these new people join, and I hear them speak and I'm like, I'm so happy that you're here. And most of those people are people who have a huge eagerness to share their knowledge with others. To me, the biggest thing about the Inner Circle, I mean, obviously we expect that we're going to get great tools and stuff from you and the experts. That's kind of a given. But the extra thing for me that's important is that all of these members there's no ego. They are open to sharing any and everything that they have learned, right? So that if I want to do something, like if I want to start a dance program in schools, I know that I can, message Jody and say, hey, can I have the proposal that you spent a year making? Can I use that as like a template for mine? And I know that she'll be like, yeah, I'll email it to you, right? So there's no block. There's no competitive nature. So to me, the ideal person is someone who, A, has a ton to learn, because we all do. So no ego. But the moment they learn something that, brings them over some sort of hurdle, they're willing to share it with everybody.
Yeah, I think that is probably like one of the keys.
Yeah.
For the people that do. And also, those people do the best in the Inner Circle as well, because I'm a big believer. It's the same whole essentially that we give and get, so when we are giving and sharing, we are getting that back in return. And I've seen that over the last few years inside of the Inner Circle. So thank you. I think that is so important. So if you are listening and you are thinking the Inner Circle is going to be right, might be a good fit for you, we'd love you to apply, but you need to be willing to share. And that's why we have the exclusivity as well in the Inner Circle, is that, there's no one, within your area that can join the Inner Circle, which keeps it as a very safe place for everyone. Shauna, thank you so much for your time today. And another person I could spend hours with, and we did at dinner. I mean, those 2-3 hours, whatever it was, went past so quickly. What's your website in case we want to see all the amazing things that you're up to?
My website, which I'm currently redoing, so the one that you're going to visit is totally out of date, but either way, is www.elandancearts.ca.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you. Jump in the comment section. Please say thank you to Shauna for delivering some great value today. Lots of awesome tips about, boys classes, adult classes, and again, just focusing on what you are really great at. Thanks, Shauna. I'll see you in the Inner Circle. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I hope you're enjoying our live stream so far with some amazing studio owners. Now, everyone you're hearing from today are people I know extremely well because I work with them personally inside of the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is our mastermind program where we work with a small group of studio owners very closely to help them build the business that they want and also build the life that they love. So if you're keen on finding out more, I would encourage you to check out our information page. You just need to go to Dance Studio Owners Association. I know it's a long one. dancestudioownersassociation.com/inner circle/inner circle. You'll get all the details there and you will be able to fill out an application to show that you are interested in the program. Now, next up, I'm going to be bringing in the amazing Lynn Haddon-Quinn, a studio owner that I've been working with now for a couple of years and have just seen. I still remember Vegas last year in the retreat, and she was sharing. It was the first time I met her amazing sister, Connie, who works in the business as well. And I just kind of saw this huge transformation with this studio owner, and it just continues. So, Lynn, I think you might be on mute. So if you just want to unmute, press the little microphone button there. There we go.
Okay.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so well. Thanks for joining us today. I so appreciate you being here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so nice to be here.
Yay. Always love connecting with you because you've always got some great things to say. Why don't we start off, though, by you telling us a little bit about why you started your dance studio and also, like, what does it look like now?
Long time. Actually, I started 25 years ago. I just can't believe that. With my mentor and my teacher, and actually another teacher, we started a dance studio together as a partnership. So I actually came from a partnership of a trio here, and we actually started with less than 30 students. And from there, we actually started in like a 900 square foot room. I think the actual office / waiting room was the size of a bathroom, I think. It was so small. But, we loved dance and we loved what we did. So I did that, but I also was working full time at a dance costume company. So for me, I was a supervisor there and I ran the sewing floor and I did all kinds of stuff in that business between, sales and marketing, all kinds of different things in that business. And over the years, I realized that my heart was just not in that business. And I really wanted to do the studio full time. So what happened was I actually had an opportunity to buy an existing studio. So I actually took the plunge and I wanted to work full time doing that. So I bought out a studio, started LHQ because we are doing, the partnership was called Shooting Star Dance Center. So I actually started LHQ and I did that as well as the other studio at the same time. So I was doing the both. And I did that for many, many years. So Yeah.
Awesome. And so what does the studio look like now? You've been in this business for 25 years. If I walked into the studio, and obviously I know this, but for everyone else that's listening, what does it look like?
Well, what I did was after I merged the studios together, and I bought out all three of my partners. So now it's just LHQ. So that it's basically Shooting Stars and isn't there anymore. So I merged about 6 years ago, I merged the studio. So now I would say that we actually did a build out we have about 3,000 square feet, and we have 3 dance rooms. And we have a TV monitor, which is really great in all of the room for all the rooms that can go back and forth. We have a sewing and craft room, as you know, because I come from the dance costume background. Got to have that. And then we have a nice storage room, and it's a nice space. It's in a commons now, which I didn't come from that, so that was different for us. With a lot of stuff going on there. I have 11 employees now, and we have about 235 students and growing. And I always have a dance team company now, and it's probably about anywhere between 45 to 60 on the team at any one time. So that's what it looks like today.
That's awesome. Now, you've got a very kind of holistic approach to your dance studio because you have dance, health, as well as wellness. You're big on that front of things. And so that really comes back to your values. And I want to talk to you about values because it's so important as a studio owner that we have clear values, that we know where we're headed so that the decisions we make, the staff we bring on board, the trainings that we do are well aligned to the values. Can you talk to us about kind of your values and how do you instill them into the day-to-day running of the business?
Well, as far as the health and the holistic part of it, what happened was it was LHQ Dance Force and Unlimited, and then I eventually kind of years gone by and made it into LHQ Wellness to bring, my future goals and my values to that because it wasn't really fitting, after, and you kind of get, things can change and you have to kind of go with that as the theme, as we got to kind of go with what we feel. Sure. I know Jody and they were talking about it as well. So part of my core values is I brought on what we call the spirit of dance, and in the spirit, I have each core value off of the spirit. So for we talk about respect, respect for your body, which is really important, respect for your team and your parents and your teachers. And what I do with that is there's a few things that I do as well as my staff, and we basically continue to share health and wellness with the knowledge in the classroom, but also through blogs as well that we put out. And then I also do a newsletter that goes out to people that aren't, clients, but also my current clients. And we basically, in that newsletter, we do wellness tips. And I also do like a suggested wellness product. And I actually just started handing it out old school way again because to try to get that connection there. So I'm going back old school and loving it. And so that's kind of what we also actually have this. I brought in like a lunch bag and I created a logo that's kind of called Dance Fuel. So it's like the dancer's fuel. And I try to get the kids to understand to fuel their bodies before and after class. So that's a fun little bag that I do. And I've given that away as handouts or as for registration and things like that. So we also have a dancer's guide that we use for, it's basically for kids, for nutrition and endurance. And so I've handed that out and we've educated the kids on that. And especially my comp team, we do a lot of that stuff within the comp team because there's a little bit more time that we have with those students. So, and then anytime I hold like a master's class, an intensive week or anything like that, I always include a wellness element to every time. So it's a matter of just what I want and what I feel the students are looking for and what we need at the whole. But that was something we always do. So a couple of other things I actually do is I have this like a sign out. I don't even know how it came about, but we do a sign up like a system where we let the kids like take the rollers or the bands home. I probably might be crazy on that one, but it works. They bring them back, and it just because some of the kids don't have rollers or different things. So I allow them to take them and then bring them back or whatever, so that way they can continue to do that at home. which has been great. I also have a large poster in every dance room that talks about hydration, and we always refer to this in the classroom. All the teachers are always talking about hydration and to the students, so we're educating. That's just another one. And then actually another one that we do is we call it the no sit rule, which I guess for me a couple of years ago, we did this because I felt it was like a need within the kids today. And so what we do, of course, they have a doctor's note or whatever, but it's safe. And we make sure that they're melting or they're rolling or they're note taking or they're doing something productive, depending on their injury or what's happening or why they're sitting. But we call it the no sit rule anyway. So it's kind of like something that we have implemented there. And then all my staff are CPR and first aid certified. Mm-hmm. So that's something else that is very helpful, obviously, as a tool. And then I always try to lead by example myself, and make sure that I'm doing those things in my personal life as well. So I think because the kids, you're always on.
always on, and everyone's always watching.
Yes, definitely. So those are a couple of things.
I love it. They're great. They're great things for people to kind of take away and start implementing as well. And I just think the whole kind of health and wellness movement, what I love about our world today is there is so much information out there, and there are so many alternatives to what we put in our body and how we fuel our body. And so now is really the time that we need to be talking about this more in the classroom and in the studio.
Definitely.
So I love that is such a core part of the way that you run and operate the studio, which is great. I mentioned earlier at the beginning, I have really seen a transformation in you, and one of those pieces is really about becoming a leader and kind of managing your team and stepping into that CEO role. What have been some of the challenges that you faced in really becoming the CEO of the studio, and what have you done to overcome some of those hurdles?
I would say when I really think about like the transition between everything and the partnership and all the things that I've gone through, one of my biggest challenges when I got married, I actually ended up moving an hour from my studio. And I know that anybody out there that lives far from their studio can relate to that, but it was definitely a hurdle at that point, and I had a lot of challenges around that, and I had to figure it out quickly and what I wanted to do as far as moving forward. I guess starting up fresh was not an option that I really wanted to do. I had built a pretty good network out in that area, and I just didn't want to start over right then and there. I already had the 2 locations, so I know what that's about, and I really wanted to make sure my efforts were, and I was growing, and I had a lot of challenges so I wanted to teach less and I wanted to work remotely. So today it's easier because you have, the Zoom like we're doing today, you got Facebook and you got Hangouts, you got all these things that you can connect with, but that wasn't the case, when this was all happening for me. So I think my biggest thing was making that change and making things easy for me. So I took a big cut in pay. And what I had to do was I had to get the right person in the right position. So that was a big one for me. And as you know, you train, we learn a lot about that in the inner circle a lot. So it's been eye-opening for me, but I took a cut in pay, but for me, it was huge because it was bringing somebody on 40 hours a week. So that's a big role. It wasn't like a part-time office person. It needed to be somebody that was like me, my right hand, that could be there, because I obviously can't just jump in the car and take off in 20 minutes and be there. So 40 hours a week, it was definitely worth the risk of taking that step. And I think that I would encourage anybody too, that it might be afraid to do that kind of thing, to go for it, because delaying gratification for long-time rewards is just something that you just can't put a price on. I think sometimes you got to take 2 steps back to go forward. And that's kind of what happened a little bit, so to be coming over those obstacles as a leader, it was definitely in a lot of training. And I'm still today, that's what kind of led me to the big staff that I have today, that one step. So
that's a great share. And I loved how you talked about, taking a pay cut, but bringing on someone 40 hours a week. What do you think would have happened if you didn't make that change, if you didn't bring that person on board?
I don't know that I would still be in business. I think that I would not have I guess the thing is, it wouldn't be me. It would have been more like, I think it would have turned into something that was not a culture that I wanted, and it wouldn't have been real. It wouldn't have been my vision. And it would have been like just stale, I guess, is would the word be, I guess, I definitely don't think it would have been something that would have been long-term happening for sure. You definitely need to have your people. You have to have the right people in the right positions. You have to have people you can trust, especially when you're working remotely. I think now, again, I think it's a little more flexible, and I think that you can do so much more because you can visually see people. You can see what they're thinking and doing because you can talk face to face like we're doing. But I think that back then, if I didn't make that choice, I definitely wouldn't be here today, 25 years later. Who would have known?
Yeah. What a journey, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you, shift gears a little bit. I want to ask you about retention, because it's something we haven't talked about yet on this, on our live stream. So what are some of the things that you are doing to, create an amazing experience inside of your studio and to keep students with you? Because, one thing we hear from a lot of our members in DSOA, is like, kids are coming and they're leaving, and I get 5 students leave. And so I'm never kind of getting ahead. What are you doing on the experience side of things to make people stay and keep loving you?
We do implement quite a few things. I think our customer appreciation events that we do every year I change it up every year, and this year we did ice skating. But every year, I think that those little connections are huge because it brings the teachers and the community together, and it's just letting go and on a different end. So I think that brings a lot of things in my studio. It works for me, and I get a lot of good feedback. This year we had the most turnout, and I think, again, it's just the staff and being on board and all the stuff we're doing in Inner Circle, and me continuously being a leader and training. All of this stuff is happening and is getting stronger as we move along. But I would also say that, it's getting the staff on board has been huge for me. I did like a big training with them and on retention. It wasn't just like a meeting. It was strictly on retention and how important their role is in retention, because if they're not on board and they're not doing what they need to do with those students, then it's going to make a different impact. And I know that was something that was definitely lacking. You have to look and see, what's happening in retention and why. And that was a big thing for me. So bringing my team closer together. What we do too is I do like it's like the flight risk student kind of list, we'd call it, and we talk about it, and we talk about it on our private page, and then we also talk about it amongst. We have a list that they get that. It's just that they have the list so that they can create those wow moments with those students. And that allows them to, be able to connect with those students maybe that they're not connecting with, and pay attention to those flight risk students that they are not really, connected with at this point. And there might be a reason. So we're kind of like in tune all together as a team. And that's been really, really great. For me, I just can see the difference. And we're going to see, obviously, we just started our re-enrollment. So
yes.
Very excited to see all the changes that we're making and how that affects our retention, because we're just really focused as a team now. Like, I put it out there, like before I never did that. Like, nobody knew my numbers. Nobody knew. Before Inner Circle, I was quiet. I kept a lot of things to myself, and I'm learning a lot of those things. And sharing all of this, it puts it on them as, hey, you know what I mean? This is part of what you got to do as well. It's not just me here.
That's right.
So yeah, that's been really, really big. And the kids want to be a part of a larger community and feel like they're important. So it's up to those teachers to help that happen. So
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. All really great ideas. And I know how passionate you are about that. So, and your customers, which I obviously love. What about, since you've been with us in the Inner Circle, what's been something you've implemented to help you on the growth side of the business?
I would say, have to say again, I'm probably like everybody else, but I would say systems. Again, everything about systems. I didn't have like all of these things in place, and because of working remotely, it made it difficult. But because I'm learning, since being in the inner circle and all the trainings and the stuff that we're doing here, I had to go backwards. Again, you have to take a lot of steps backwards to go forward. So I felt like I had to do a lot of house cleaning, and I had things in place, but it was never done. Like, it wasn't like systemized where this is how we do it. And I think it was just a known thing. Sometimes as teachers, as artists, and we're in there, we're in it, and we're dance studio teachers, but the owner side and the CEO side is different. So when I got into the system part of it, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, I just had to clean up a lot of those systems, and training my staff on the systems and rolling them all out. All of it has just brought our team so much closer together. And for so many years, they were just doing, what they thought was the correct way, instead of what this is the system. And nope, this is the system, and this is what we need to do. So this has helped my business for sure. You feel less crazy, I guess, and the parents and the kids and the staff are all more compliant, for what we want as a studio. So this has been, it feels so much better, to be able to focus on my goals. This year, we're able to focus on goals because we have the systems in place. So we're growing in that aspect, instead of putting out fires all the time of, the assumption of the system, you know what I mean?
100%. Lynn, I want to ask you about the inner circle. You've been with us for a couple of years. What makes you stay in the inner circle? Why do you feel like it is a valuable group and education for you? For those people that are maybe thinking about applying, you're in your second year, coming up to your third year. Why do you stay in the group?
We love you, Clint. That's one of the reasons.
And I love you. That's a good start. That's a good start.
But no, for me, as I had said to you before, it's the accountability. As I went from my partnership to owning my studio and buying out these studios and kind of like going around, I've been a member of so many different dance organizations along my journey here in my 25 years. But the inner circle has brought the accountability part of it that I didn't have. I might have had some coaching and stuff like that, but I was never accountable or held accountable. It's the consistency, it's the drilling, it's, like you feel like, okay, we get so much information, but it's like, if we never hear it again, what are you going to do with it? It's going to go in one ear and out the other. So the accountability has been just huge. Like that, again, like Shauna and them are all talking about the 90-day goals, being consistent with it. I mean, I can't tell you that this is probably the most in my 25 years that I've had a consistent 90-day goals that I'm like focused on. Like, and we, as staying in my lane when we first kind of had our first, interview together was one of my biggest things, that shiny ball. Like, we always want more. We want to do more. We want this, we want that. And we're just kind of always getting off track. And this keeps us in our lane, on track, and just, focused on what we want to happen in the future. So that's been huge. Yeah. That's been my biggest.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I love having you on this journey with us. It's amazing. You can all probably see by the way that Lynn talks about her business, she is very passionate about what she does. And I always say, like, we can't teach passion. We can teach you how to get re-engaged with your business if maybe you're feeling a little unmotivated, uninspired. But we really, amplify kind of how you're feeling and then give you the systems and processes to help with the business side of things. Lynn, give us your website so we can check out, the amazing things that you're doing over at LHQ.
Yeah, it's lhqdanceforce.com. And I'm actually, just like Shauna, I actually am just about ready to launch my new website. So Pretty excited about that.
Yes.
It's been going on for a while. So so check us out. Any questions? Anybody has anything? Let me know. Yeah.
Awesome. And what's one last piece of advice that you would give for our studio owners, Lynn, that are looking to go to the next level and they're, maybe there's some fear there, or they're uncertain, or they don't know how to get there, what advice would you give them?
Well, for me, as you know, like the first thing I would say, that if you're not giving yourself love, then that's going to be your biggest hurdle in life, because I can't say it enough that you have to schedule in yourself every single week, because that's something that, as you know, the past couple of years that I am so religious about. It's really helped me stay focused, because in being mindful. But if you don't do that for yourself, if you're not filling your own cup, then you can't give to other people, whether it be in your personal life or in your business. But this business is not easy, and we know that. We love it, but it's not always easy when you're dealing with the negativity from the parents and the kids and the students and stuff like that. So in order to give them and fill them, you need to be able to give yourself self-love. And I always say, don't let anybody steal your peace. And that's something I always say to myself constantly. I'm not going to let them steal my peace. And also, don't let anybody give you a wrinkle. That's what I always say. Because as you get older here, it's like, oh my God, you are not giving me a wrinkle right now.
I'm not taking that wrinkle from you. That is a great line. I love that. I love that. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for sharing with us today. So much wisdom and value that you've dropped for us. I'm sure another page of notes for everyone that is watching. And I appreciate you. I appreciate your honesty and openness during our time together today.
Thank you, Clint, so much. We appreciate you as well. Have a great one.
See you in the group.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Amazing, guys. We have one more guest to go on today's live stream, our power hour and a half, I'm now calling it, because we've gone a little bit over time, but I hope you are really gaining some value from this. I love chatting with our Inner Circle members, because I know them quite well. So we've obviously built quite a relationship, and I think it's so valuable for you to see the journey that these studio owners have been on. And it's not always roses, and there are always challenges. If you want to get to the next level, it's just really about how are you going to move through the challenges. How are you going to gain clarity on exactly what you want to build inside of your studio? What do you want it to be? It's also about getting clear on like, what is your zone of genius? What are the things that you do extremely well? And then how do you go about delegating and outsourcing those other things? And you've heard a lot of great tips from everyone today. So I'm going to bring on our last guest now, the amazing Michelle Fracchia-West from Ignite Dance Works. Michelle, you are on mute. You are looking beautiful, by the way, but if you can just unmute. There we go. Oh, and we have costumes. We have photos.
I've got everything here.
You are amazing. How are you? Thank you. I know we're running a bit late, so firstly, I just want to say thank you for hanging on. I hate ending these conversations short when there's so much value being delivered.
That's okay.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
Good, fantastic. So, Michelle, why don't we jump on in? And I would love you to share with our studio owners that are watching a little bit about your journey, starting your studio, and what it looks like now.
Sure. Well, when I started my studio, I'm actually one of the relatively new studio owners who's a member of the Inner Circle here. So I'm only in I'm just finishing up my second year right now. And when I first started, I pretty much went on mat leave. And as soon as I had my son, I was making my business plan. This is something that I always wanted to do. And I just thought after 17 years of teaching, for other people, I wanted something more. And I wanted to do something for me, for my family. And so I went off and I started my own studio. And so it's definitely been a journey from there, to say the least, but I definitely wouldn't do it any other way. So
yeah, amazing. And so I love that it's nice having you on here because you are relatively new. Like you said, you're ending up your second season shortly with the studio. What were some of the things during the first year, last year of running the studio that was challenging? What was unexpected? Just for anyone that's like about to start or in their kind of first couple of years, if we can help them through some heartache, that would be awesome.
Right. Well, similar to Jody's story, I went in thinking, yeah, I could do this. This is going to be a breeze. You know, I did so much admin with the old studio I was at. I knew how to teach, and I could do it all. And when I was first starting it, it was good, right? I opened up in May, and I was just taking registrations, and they were a little at a time. And then come October, so a month into actual classes, and I knew there was a problem because things were just starting to get more and more and more, you know, that just little things, they were just starting to pile up, little admin stuff that I wasn't taking care of, the payroll, the bookkeeping, the purchasing of items, right? Keeping track of all my students, let alone trying to get in kids, right? And that was a huge thing in my first year. Where am I going to get the kids from? In my city, in Saskatoon here, there is over 33 dance studios now. 2 new ones just popped up this year. So trying to find kids in an area that only has 385,000 people really is tough. And, you know, I'm a person that I'm not, and one of the things that I found really, really difficult was because I'm a very moral person, and I didn't want to steal kids from anywhere. And I was trying to do everything correctly. But that first year was a struggle because I was going, okay, I started off from nothing, and, you know, trying to build from there was exceptionally difficult for me. So not knowing where to come from, and just going from that transition from being a dance teacher to now, oh my God, I'm a studio owner. Where do I go from here? That was definitely a huge challenge.
Yeah. And so what shifted for you in the second year? Like what have you changed? What did you put in place? How have you kind of shifted?
Well, after I started Studio Success Formula, that it totally changed my mindset. Because I remember the low point, I was in front of my computer, I was broke. I was really struggling because I was having, you know, a baby and a toddler and a husband at home. I had no time for them. I was 24/7 studio. And I thought I needed a change. So I came across Studio Success Formula, started implementing the procedures that were in there. And from there, coming on to Inner Circle, I growing with learning. Okay, coming first of all to the realization that I am an owner. I'm a business person now. I can't be in that dance teacher mentality anymore. So that was the first shift that I had to do. And that took a while for me to actually get there. And once I understood my role as an owner, then I could actually take a step back. I took a whole week actually off, and I looked at my studio and said, wow, every single area needs work. Where can I start from? And I started implementing the 90-day planning and going, okay, taking it a little bit at a time and saying, okay, where can I start to implement systems? So that way I can at least gain control over what was happening within my studio. So then I could gain control over what needed to be done to fix what was happening. And from then on, I've really started to, it's just been a whole mind shift. It's just been a crazy mind shift for me. And because of that, it's really helped me to relax a lot more. And, while things are still stressful, but I can actually see problems when they come now. I remember my first year, especially even being in the Inner Circle retreat, I came and I was watching going, wow, I'm intaking all this information, but I wasn't really setting in. And I came to the second retreat and I went, I get it. You know, I get it now. And it's just been a huge change in mind for me that has really helped to be able to, you know, implement everything. So.
Yeah, it's great. And, you know, you obviously have a family now as well, and you've got, you know, a young family, a young studio. How do you make them both work?
Well, it's been definitely a challenge. I have my kids here with me a lot. I've implemented a preschool program here. That was one of the ways that I have tried to bring in additional income. But in doing so, I was able to keep my kids with me whilst allowing me to still work. So still being a full-time mom, bringing my kids to work with me, but having that preschool option, which brought in some additional income. It's been a win-win situation for me with that. But time management has been a challenge for me my whole life. And this year, I've really started going by my calendar and trying to manage my time and making sure that with the systems that I have in place, I'm able to, free up, for example, using Drip to automate my emails. And I just literally learned how to do that maybe a month ago. But doing that has actually freed up probably about 4 to 5 hours a week that I was doing just creating emails and sending them off. So that's time that I can actually spend with my family. This year, I've also dedicated 2 nights a week, Tuesday evening and Friday evening, which I'm able to spend at home with my family and take care of my kids. So
yeah. I love it. You talked a little bit about kind of time management just then. You talked about implementing Drip. What other things have you implemented, technology or just processes or systems that have helped you on that kind of getting some time back?
Right. Definitely. Definitely the Drip has been a big part of it for now, because I was doing a lot of things. We were doing, for example, our onboarding system, our retention system that we had, my hiring system, the hiring funnel. So everything that I was doing manually, I've been able to implement. So Drip has been a huge one. Asana is another one that I use for task management. So I don't have to be consistently going on my computer going, okay, where's this? Or looking at my calendar, has this been done? I can just go onto Asana and I can make sure that everything has been done. And if it hasn't, we can look into why or why not. So those are 2 of our main systems. I also use Google Suite. That has been a godsend for us, not only for me, being able to have everything in one place, but for our staff. And Pipedrive is another one for collecting our leads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. And I just want to point out, I love hearing this because they're all the things that we talk about and you're implementing them. But
yes.
What I want people, a lot of studio owners get overwhelmed and they try and tackle everything at the one time. But you've been doing piece by piece, right? So you implement one thing, you get that done, you implement the next thing. So can you just talk about how you kind of view that and not like, okay, you've got to do Google, Pipedrive, Drip, like everything in a week?
Yeah, it has taken a long time. Sorry, my phone's going off.
That's okay. Phone's ringing is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't want to go off there, but it's taken me a long time. I'm technologically dumb, and so for me to do this has been a challenge. So we started off by just implementing Google Suites, and that was a whole 3-month process. There we go. Sorry. And I started implementing the Google Suites, and getting all the teachers on board with their own emails and our whole system in place from there. And that took about 2 or 3 months to do. Then I decided with everything going on, I thought, okay, the first thing I need is Asana. So then I mastered Asana for the next 2 or 3 months. And then after that point, we implemented the Pipedrive, because we were doing everything with Excel and everything manually. It was Excel and then books like this. We literally took 4 books and put them all into Pipedrive. So that took a good few months to do. And then from there, we were still doing the emails manually. I started creating the emails first of all, so we could just copy paste while I was learning Drip. Slowly and slowly and slowly. And when I found I could master Drip, then I thought, okay, now let's put it into place. And that's when I started learning Zapier and doing the rest of that. So it's probably taken a year and a half to actually implement these procedures. So it definitely did not happen overnight. But and there was challenges. I remember there was probably a good 2 weeks where I was up till quite late in the evening, but just trying to learn it. But for me, I'm a very, watching the videos is really tough for me because it just goes in one ear and out the other. I'm like that with card games too. But if I am actually physically doing it, and just doing it over and over, like you're studying for an exam, you have to write stuff down, then it sticks with me. And so for me, it took a while, but I got it. And I tell you, it's probably the best thing I've ever done. And I wouldn't know about that unless I joined the inner circle, because that is the one thing that we are always talking about, right?
Yeah, totally. Always trying to make our lives easier.
Yeah.
And our business run, in a streamlined way that is consistent, because when there's not the processes and systems in place, I do something, someone else does something a different way. And so the consistency is out of whack, which means the customer experience is out of whack, and then it all kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
Michelle, similar to a question that I asked Lynn, was, you're a newer member in the inner circle. What is the value that you've received out of it? If someone is a new studio owner and they're thinking, I don't know if I'm ready yet for this, what would you share with them?
Oh, wow. There's so much value. The confidence, for me, that was a big thing. The confidence in knowing that there is a community out there, that you're not alone. For a new studio owner, everything comes at you. And like Lynn was saying, it's a completely different business, right? You're different. You're a business person, but it's a different element of business. And a lot of times you can feel alone in this industry because you are getting that constant gratification, with the teaching that you do, but there's not a lot of thank yous. There's not a lot of, you're doing a great job. And so to know that you're on the right track, or that you have that support system when you've had that parent scream at you, because their daughter missed an email or something like that, right? Yeah. But to know that you have that support system that's always going to be there for you, that is my first thing of value. And the second part is definitely being able to share and collaborate on all the different ideas and the new ideas and the processes and the different things that you can bring into the studio, for revenue streams, for improving customer experience, for improving every element of your studio. You've got the resources there, and you won't find that anywhere else. And I've found, anyways, as a new member, that those two things have been, valuable, besides keeping me on my toes all the time. But those are the two most valuable things that I've received as a new member of the inner circle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Owner.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that insight. Yes. What advice would you give to a new studio owner, or any of our studio owners that are watching at the moment, about around keeping their vision moving forward?
Stay focused. That's been a challenge for me to do, especially considering we have such immense competition here. Keep your vision. Have that 90-day goal posted as your screensaver on your computer, and stay focused, because there's so many things that come at you. So-and-so copying your ads. So-and-so is copying your classes. And trying to stay new and ahead is one of our main focuses here as a new studio, because we always want to stay one step ahead of the game here and bring something new to the dance community here that nobody else does, which we do as a studio. But it's so easy to stray away from that path. So stay focused on your goal. Know who you are. Know what your studio's values and missions are, because in the end, that's the most important part. Your experience that you provide for the clients and who you are as a studio. That's what's going to bring people in and keep you on the right path.
Yeah, great Great advice. Michelle, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to chat with you. What's your website URL? Please give that to everyone watching so they can check out what you guys are doing at Ignite.
Sure. We are still revamping our website as well, so stay tuned for a new one. But in the current website is www.ignitedanceworks.com.
I love it. And guys, what you've noticed, the web world is changing all the time. So you've got to make sure that you don't have your website still from 1999, even, 2015. Things are changing, and the way that people want to navigate websites, the way that people take action on websites as well. So you should always be updating what is going on so that it is relevant and that it is making an impact. And you would have noticed that as a theme with our guests today. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
And I'll see you in the group. Great to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So guys, that wraps up our first session, our power hour and 39 minutes with some amazing studio owners that we work with inside of our inner circle. Now, if you feel inspired, motivated, and are ready to really take it to the next level, I would love to highly encourage you to check out information about our Inner Circle program. You can go to dancestudioownersassociation.com/inner circle. And there you'll find all the information about the Inner Circle and also how you can apply for our program. It's application. So check out the info. We would love to receive an application from you, and then we can take the next steps from there. It is a beautiful, amazing community of studio owners from the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. We run live events. We do weekly coaching calls. We provide you with done-for-you systems. A lot of our guests talked about systems today to help you grow the business while also reclaiming your life, which is so important for us and part of our mission here at the Dance Studio Owners Association. And we would love to help you go to that next level. So simply go to dancestudioownersassociation.com/inner circle and fill out an application. Please say a huge thank you in the comment section to our amazing guests that you heard from today. Jody, Shauna, Lynn, and Michelle, thank you all. Amazing human beings, awesome studio owners. Thank you for sharing so open and honestly with everyone that was watching today. Such a pleasure to be able to work with you all inside of the Inner Circle. That is all from me. Stay tuned for next week. We have another power hour with some studios next Wednesday. It's Wednesday in the US. You can check all the details in our Dance Studio Owner Hub free group that we have. So make sure you join that group as well to get all the updates on the free trainings and resources that we have for dance studio owners just like you wanting to grow your business. But if you are really ready for growth, if you're really ready maybe to get off the treadmill, to get some clarity, to get a really solid blueprint in plan of how you can get to the next level inside of your dance studio, we would love to see an application for you for the Inner Circle. Thanks for joining us today. Great to have our amazing guests on. I hope you've got some value from today and a couple of pages of notes to get you on another track, a track that's going to move you closer to your goals for the rest of 2018. Thanks for joining us. Take care. We'll see you again really soon. Bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Transform My Dance Studio. To find out more about joining Clint and our industry-leading team in the Inner Circle, make sure you head over to www.dancestudioownersassociation.com/inner circle.